All right, so I'm not going to be before you long. I just have some things that I need to say. I've professed on my channel that I am a Christian. I am a child of the Most High. So I have some things that I feel like I need to say regarding the situation with Lecrae. Now, in case you missed it, Lecrae is being dragged up and down these internet streets for allowing a pastor, I'm going to call him Pastor G because I can't pronounce his last name, for allowing Pastor G to say that white privilege was really a white blessing.
Love the blessing of the cross, but we don't love to sit in it and realize this is what God's asking me to do, to die to myself and to live for him, whatever context that's going to look like for me. But I want to flip that upside down, because I think the other side of it is true with our nation's history. We understand the curse that was slavery, white people do, and we say that was bad. But we miss the blessing of slavery, that it actually built up the framework for the world that white people live in and lived in. And so a lot of people call this white privilege, and when you say those two words, it just is like a fuse goes off for a lot of white people, because they don't want somebody telling them to check their privilege. And so I know that you and I both have struggled in these days with, hey, if the phrase is the trip up, let's get over the phrase and let's get down to the heart.
Sure. Let's
get down to what then do you want to call it. And I think maybe a great thing for me is to call it white blessing, that I'm living in the blessing of the curse that happened generationally that allowed me to grow up in Atlanta.
I feel like Lecrae shouldn't be dragged, first of all, because he didn't say that slavery was a blessing. Those are not his words. So don't drag him and hold him accountable for what a white man said. Number two, I feel like if I was having these conversations with these white people, knowing that it's the head of Chick-fil-A who has been problematic, and with a white pastor who's likely problematic as well because he was raised as white in America, I feel like I wouldn't allow the white pastor to center himself in the conversation. To me, he couldn't even sit in the center of the room. If we're going to have a conversation of race and I bear the burden of race, like white people want to act like they're free from race, I bear the burden of race. I'm going to sit in the center of the conversation, and I'm going to center myself. And I don't agree with when someone is speaking, and this is just from a body language perspective. When someone's talking to me, I just listen. Like, I'm not going to agree and sit there and shake my head at everything you're saying. Especially if I know you're problematic. I know you're problematic. I'm here with the CEO of Chick-fil-A and a white pastor. I'm not going to sit there and agree. I'm going to sit there and just give you face. Like, I'm gonna just listen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna agree with what you're saying, because I feel like two things. I feel like when you sit there and agree like that, especially with a white person, if I could just speak freely on my channel, I feel like it gives them a sense of authority, especially a pastor who is a leader. It kind of confirms his authority when you're sitting there agreeing with him before he's even said or finished saying what he's saying. And secondly, I feel like when you sit there and agree with a person, it kind of creates a subservient, kind of relationship where they feel like they have this certain authority and that you are subservient to what they're saying. You're the one sitting there listening and agreeing. You're learning from them, when it really needs to be the other way around. If we as Black people are going to sit and have these conversations with white people and help them understand their privilege, I feel like we can't allow them to sit in the privilege. They can't center themselves in the conversation. We can't allow that. That's what Black Lives Matter is about. It's about centering Black lives. Like I said, we know that all lives matter. We know that. Theoretically, we know that. But we have to focus. And if I'm having that conversation and we can't focus on Black lives at that time, I'm not having that conversation. Now, as far as using the term white blessing versus white privilege, I feel like this person, Pastor Gigi, I feel like that's what he feels. I feel like he said what he said, and I feel like he feels like slavery, it did create the framework for America. The murder of Native Americans and the slavery of African Americans, it did create the framework for this American society that we live in. I get what he was saying, but it's not a blessing. Like, blessings don't come from sin. That's not how it works. And to compare slavery to Christ's work on the cross, the passion of the Christ, is ridiculous. Like, Christ, I don't even want to get too far into it because I tend to get emotional. But what Christ was doing, for him to empty himself, period, and just appear on this earth as a man and empty himself like that, can't be compared to slavery. There's no comparison. It's not even apples and oranges. It's no comparison. It's no comparison to the brutality that Black people went through. And like I said, this pastor mentioned generational curses, and people are missing that part. And I hate that people are missing that part. That a lot of white people and a lot of white pastors see Black people as cursed. They feel like this is destiny. They feel like this is the curse of Ham, and it's destiny for Black people to be subservient to white people. That's a Eurocentric point of view, and I'm not with it. Like I said, I don't view my Christianity and my relationship with Christ from a Eurocentric viewpoint. I don't view it from a white lens. I just don't, and I never will. I don't feel like Black people are cursed. I feel like the reason Black people, especially in America and across the diaspora, I feel like the reason Black people have suffered has to do with people of European descent having the weapons of mass destruction. Just like the police have the guns now and they're killing us, they're the ones in the power, they're the ones that have the weapons of mass destruction. I feel like that's what happened during slavery. It's not that Black people are cursed and they're living out their curse. That's not it at all. That's not it at all. That's not it at all. From my understanding, when Europeans landed in Africa, they were the ones who had the cannons and the weapons of mass destruction. And so they were able to threaten the Africans there. And when they started slavery, African slavery, chattel slavery, where people are treated like animals and treated like property, it's because they had the means to kill us. It was either be a slave or die. And some of us chose to die. Some of us chose to die. And others of us are survivors. I know they rarely refer to Black people who are descendants of slaves as survivors. People who experienced the Holocaust, they're referred to as survivors, but people who experienced slavery are not referred to as survivors. Our ancestors are referred to as former slaves. We have to look at the words people use, because people use those words for a reason. There's inequality built into those words. And to use the word blessing as if a blessing poured forth from sin, it's a problem. So that Pastor Gigi did apologize.
Really apologize for the use of the phrase on Sunday, white blessing. And I extend that apology today to every single person who is listening to me right now. But most importantly, I extend that apology to my Black brothers and sisters. I, like so many, am so burdened about what is happening in our nation right now. And I'm heartbroken about where we are as a nation. And one of the things that I'm most heartbroken about is trying to help myself continue to learn and to help my white brothers and sisters understand that white privilege is real. And in trying to get that sentiment across on Sunday, I used the phrase white blessing, for which I'm deeply sorry. Horrible choice of words. Does not reflect my heart at all. I don't, to be clear, believe there's any blessing in slavery. To the contrary, what I'm trying to understand is that my white brothers and sisters, we sit in large part where we are today because of the centuries of gross injustice done to our Black brothers and sisters. So this is my heart. This is what I want to more fully understand, because I believe this will help us stay engaged in this conversation so that we can all move forward together. So thank you for just letting me open my heart to you today. Thank you for letting me apologize directly to you today. And I ask that you would pray for me and possibly even join me as I just desire to continue to learn, to understand, to stay engaged, and to be a part of all of us moving forward together to the place that God wants us to be. And then help people see.
And I feel like when people apologize, they need to keep the same energy they had when they said what they said. Like, I'm Tiana Taylor in this mug. Keep that same energy. And I feel like that pastor definitely didn't have the same energy in his apology. And to me, that's also problematic. I don't necessarily feel like he learned a lesson. I just feel like he got dragged, and that's why he's apologizing. But it is what it is. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about this whole situation with Lecrae being dragged for what someone else said. And let me know what you think about what the pastor said, white privilege versus white blessing. Can a blessing come from sin? Leave a comment and let me know what you think. And if you're subscribed to my channel, I'm editing a video. I did talk about the first black bachelor actually not being black, him being biracial. And I am going into detail on why people feel like biracial people should be called biracial and not black. If they have one black parent and one white parent, I'm going into detail about why it's problematic to refer to them as black. So if you want to get access to exclusive content on my channel, make sure you click the join button below in the description box or in the comments, and I will see you there.